Yo, what's good, y'all? It's your boy Jay back at it again, and today we got, was solo leveling actually good or by the overanalyzing avatar? You already know what the deal is, man. Shout out the overanalyzing avatar. 100k by the end of the year. And without further ado, let's get started.
Okay, for real this time, the hottest new anime for ages 8 to 16 of the modern era. I always hear about how crazy the show is, but I've never heard or seen anything to do with it other than that sentiment, which makes it unique in that the other two shows I've looked at in this format, with those I at least had some level of familiarity. With this, it's like, what the hell is this even about? My mind naturally guesses that this is going to be some sort of weird Sword Art Online clone where the main character is in this virtual reality game and he's totally untouchable because he's solo leveled. I don't know, that's just my best guess. Just like MHA, Solo Leveling is a Genius series and has their first opening span the entire length of the first season, so we are talking about the whole first season. Alright, preamble out of the way, what the fuck is going on with this show? Someday sub will win, surely.
I ain't gonna lie, the dub is fantastic. The dub is quite literally fantastic. I ain't gonna lie. Bro, the main actor of Sung Jin-goo cooked hard.
This show ain't for me, boss. Let's get the most obvious statement about the show out of the way first. The show obviously looks great visually, both the art style and animation are
okay, that's true. All right, that's cool. That's cool.
They're very easy to look at or downright incredible. They turned up the bloom a little bit too high for my taste, but that's not a big deal.
No, the show definitely, like, on a visual lane, Solo Leveling's amazing. The fights look great. The character designs are good. The show from a visual standpoint is hard, and even the manhwa has a dope-ass art style, I ain't gonna lie.
Is where my praise for the show begins and ends. Let's start with the most blatant issue in the series. Who the fuck cares about any of these characters at all? I'm gonna be honest with you, I only know two character names in this show, those being the main character, Jinwoo, and Ju-hee, and that's not for lack of trying. I watched the show intently. I wasn't fucking playing Subway Surfers on the side or anything.
I think that's because we used to, like, if you're an anime watcher, you're used to these crazy-ass names like Bakugo, Aizen, Madara. You're used to these crazy names, but when you just have regular Korean names like Song-yi or Who's Song or Sung-woo, like, you not used to that, so you don't be casting the names. I ain't gonna lie to you. But yeah, I also don't be knowing the names like that. But I obviously think that, but I know he's gonna talk about Sung Jin-goo later, but I honestly think that Sung Jin-goo is one of the easiest protagonists to root for. I honest to God think that he's a likable protagonist and it's very easy to root for him. You feel what I'm saying? But yeah, I do care. I care about the OG dude. I care about this girl right here. I care about his sister. I care about, you know what I'm saying, his best friend. Like, there's characters I care about to an extent. I'm not going to say it's like, if they die, I'm heartbroken. But it's like, I do care for some of these characters, man. And I think that we're only 2 seasons in, right? We're not even, like, in the manhwa, we probably be like a good 56, like less than 60 chapters in. And the manhwa still has, like, what? 120 something more pages left, chapters, you feel me? So it's like, I feel like in the 3rd season, the first 2 being about Jinwoo is cool to me, right? Developing him as a character, showing his progression, right? You could argue that the pacing is a little too fast, which I could definitely see, you know, I could probably see that argument, but I think that season 3, right, because I've been enjoying the anime so far, but I think that in season 3, they should start focusing on world building and developing other characters. I think that would be the best move.
Honestly, the only reason I remember Ju-hee's name is because the first time they named her, I thought they called her Chewie, and I thought it was funny. Other than that, the rest of the fodder characters, the tertiary characters that come back around to be seen again, even the high S-rank hunters whose designs and voice actors are supposed to make them seem so cool, are completely forgettable to me. Maybe it's because the season centers nearly the entire 12-episode timecode on the main character. Those characters just don't have enough screen time to penetrate my 12-inch thick skull. I don't know. But I bet they were probably going for having at least one character in the show that can elicit any emotion.
The thing is, Solo Leveling is like a power fantasy. When I was reading this, I'm like, yeah, this is a power fantasy. Main character becomes extremely overpowered compared to everybody else. But Solo Leveling is the best at the power fantasy. And the thing is, my argument is he doesn't become insanely overpowered at the start. Like, no, he struggles in fights. He struggled hard against the snake boss. He struggled against the dogs. Number one, he was the weakest hunter of all time. So that already has, you know what I'm saying, that already makes me root for him to be stronger and to better himself. And like I said, he struggled against the dogs in this dungeon. He struggled against the snakes. He struggled against the, like the triple-headed hound in the, you know, like the hell area. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know what I'm talking about if you watch the show. And he barely beat Igris. And he almost died against the Knights after Igris was defeated. He had to use Igris and Tank against the elf, you know what I'm saying, the ice elf boss. He jumped him. Then he had to then he fought the like the king of the like Hellgate area. If it weren't for that purple headed girl, he would have died. He would have died. He would have died. She came in clutch, and he no diffed Biru in the manga, but Biru, like the ant dude, he no diffed him in the manga, but in the anime they made it a mid diff. So yeah, Sung Jin-woo struggles in fights.
Emotion out of a warm-blooded human being, and I don't think they succeeded. I don't mean to date this video horribly by saying this phrase, but hype moments and aura, as the kids like to say, is all the show got. And that comes down to our main character, Jin-woo, who's the epitome of self-insert character. Let me break it down. Jin-woo starts off as this consummate loser.
It's a power fantasy anime. Every power fantasy anime, it has higher levels of self-insertiveness than like your regular show.
And feeble and timid and the worst person of all time at his job. Despite all that, the super cute girl is obviously way into him, despite him being the most useless living thing that can walk on two legs. The only thing he's got going for him is his undying spirit and analytical mind. Does that not already sound like the start of a fantasy of 10 of the kids you went to school with? You know what I mean? And of course he turns out to be the chosen one or something. The show hasn't explained it yet. And his potential is unlocked and he gets to be the coolest, most badass, most powerful guy in the world, surprising everyone, winning all the flowers, and still barely realizing that the super cute girl is interested in his dial tone ass personality. It's a power fantasy, I get it. It's a self-insert power fantasy.
Yeah, I'm glad he touched on that. But Sunju's not the most interesting protagonist, but as someone who's read the manga, right, I gotta reread it because it's been over a year since our last, binged it, but I don't think Sung Jin-woo is a boring MC. I think that he's an interesting character. I do think that he's very easy to root for. I don't think that him not being the happy-go-lucky MC him not being that type of MC doesn't ruin it for me. You feel what I'm saying?
Is literally Wolf Assassin. It's not far off from XX, Wolf, Sniper, Lead, Assassin, 13XX. And I'm not trying to hate, even though I realize I am hating pretty hard. If you like the show, great. I'm glad you get something out of it that I wish I could, honestly. But this video is probably going to be 10 plus minutes of me listing off why this show doesn't work for me.
This show's not for everybody. If you like, in the first 2 seasons, right, it's definitely more hype moments, aura, power fantasy, cool fights, this, that, and the third. And it's just been mostly hyper fixated on Jinwoo. If you're a guy who likes side characters, slower pacing, really good world building, you know what I'm saying, you just want to prioritize taking it slow and building up the world and having this all expanding universe, then you're not going to like this show. You're not going to like the anime. I'm just being real with you, right?
Positive to say about it at all. Back to Jin-woo, even his character design is purposely bland so the watcher can easily project themselves onto him. This dude just dresses like a regular guy. He wears jeans and a hoodie everywhere. This is just another element that adds to the self-insert plan of the show. He's bland and normal so everyone can see themselves in him. It was the same thing in the first Halo games. You never saw Master Chief's face and he barely spoke because the idea was that the game wanted you to feel like you were killing aliens and doesn't afraid of anything. They wanted you to be able to project yourself into the suit and get a richer gameplay experience because of it. And to do that, it's imperative you make the character as much of a blank slate as possible. That's why Jin-woo dresses the way he does and acts the way he does. Can you think of a moment in this show where Jin-woo doesn't do something that is just completely logical? Most of the show's runtime is him thinking to himself in a completely logical way before he carries through with a completely logical action. His personality is completely bog standard human, so you can imagine yourself doing the same thing if you were in his shoes. You can't put yourself in the place of a character as much if they do something that you wouldn't do, right? Because you wouldn't do it. It breaks the immersion if Jin-woo were to get angry about something that you're not invested in or do something selfish or irresponsible. And the great thing is about how the show tackles it is that he never has a reason to, because his life around him, outside of his interactions with the game system, is completely negligible. He doesn't care about anything really. His mom is sick and his sister has to pay for school, but that gets mentioned in passing once every 4 episodes maybe. It's not important to him on...
Well, to be fair, I mean, his entire goal, like, obviously one of his goals is getting stronger. But the reason he even went to that double dog dungeon with the triple-headed hound and did all this stuff was to save his mom because she was sick. That was a huge motivator. And they had a scene. They quite literally had a really good scene. After he healed his mom, I think that was a great scene. I don't know why people are hating on it. I don't know why it was such a controversial scene. But, you know, Twitter's going to Twitter. But, yeah, that was a really good scene. Right? I think it's very clear that Sung Jin-woo does care about his family. And like, he does care about stuff. He's just not gonna just tell it to you straight up like a lot of other MCs would.
screen because you don't care about his sister or mother like a brother or son would. All of this adds up to a character that isn't a character because the show wants you to be the character. And I get it on some level why people are attracted to watching a show like that. Who doesn't want to be the main character? Who doesn't see themselves as Jinwoo at the start of the show sometimes? Who doesn't want to be the Jinwoo from the latter half of it? I get it. It's just not what I'm looking for when I sit down to watch a show. I want characters to intrigue me, make me ask things about them, wonder where they've been and where they'll go. This show doesn't do that because it wants you to do it yourself. And even when they try to give Jinwoo some sort of edge where he gets angry, you can still see the through line of the character not really existing deep down. When Jinwoo has these moments of strength where he screams at himself like a demon in this...
I ain't gonna lie, this was hard. Like, I don't care. I know he probably about to dunk on this, but this was hard, bro. This was hard. When he was dying in that dungeon, he was having that speech, that was hard. That was hard, bro. I ain't gonna lie.
He doesn't pump himself up over the fact that his mother is dying and he needs to make money for her treatment because that would be an actual character motivation. He pumps himself up over the fact that everyone used to see him as the weakest, as kind of as a human at every pass because he wasn't valuable enough. He freaks out over that instead because about 100% of the people that have ever lived have felt that way at some point and imagine themselves in the fight because of it. But he never seemed upset about that once outside of a fight, either when he was in his scrub form or later in his big dick swinging form. So it feels pretty silly and out of place. This show is literally targeting the pleasure centers in your mind. It's like when you're in the shower and you suddenly think of the perfect comeback for something someone said to you and you imagine yourself saying it and then everyone laughs. It's targeting that part of your brain, the part that releases serotonin when you think about the reality where you zinged that guy back. It's just that, over and over. Like, even think about this. Remember when he murders 6 people? Like, yeah, it was in self-defense, but he kills them, humans, real people, and he does it all coldly and coolly. He's such a badass. It doesn't rap.
Well, to be fair, they did try to kill him. They tried to kill that nigga. And when it first started, he was like, okay, wait, hold on. I don't want to do this. These is like real people. Like, I was killing, you know what I'm saying, spiders and goblins and snakes. Like, hold on. And then he got blasted. He said, you know what? Fuck this. I'm about to catch my UAV right quick. I ain't gonna lie.
Rattle him at all, taking human lives. He has one thought about it in the next episode, but basically just shrugs and moves on. Now,
I ain't gonna lie. I like, you might call me an edgelord, but like, I like characters that just get shit done, bro. I like characters that just get shit done. He'd be like, you know what, that sucks, but it's like, I gotta get stronger. I gotta pay these bills, gang. The bills ain't gonna pay themselves, boy. My mom ain't gonna heal herself. I gotta stay on the grind, bro.
I don't care.
And I feel like we see some of his humanity in season 2 when his mom finally awakes. Like, that's when we finally get to see that, okay, Sung Jin-woo's not just Mr. Aura man, Mr. Aura farm man. Like, no, he actually has real emotions. Right, and I feel like the reason that he suppresses them or just doesn't show them at all is because he's been weak for so long that he most likely views emotions as just like, okay, it's going to make me weaker because I've been this emotional, weak, feeble dude for so long that when I'm finally going to be stronger, I'm going to be so suppressive or just completely in control of my emotions as a way to be stronger. You feel what I'm saying?
Mentally tough you think you are, a situation like that would fuck with you hard. But once again, say it with me, you don't feel the emotional ramifications or the ambiguous baggage of this character's violent actions personally, even if it was self-defense, so the show doesn't care to explore them, which means Jinwoo ends up not caring. All this makes Jinwoo add up to be, I gotta give it to him, exactly what they were going for, a blank canvas with no character. I usually like to talk about the other characters too when I can, but like I said, the show is mainly just this dude. All the other characters are caricatures. Cute healer girl that likes him for no reason and worries too much, cute sister that worries too much, stuttering high voice sidekick that thinks Jinwoo is so sick, strongest man is suave, Vegeta All Might is strong and mean, blonde hair, pink eyes is strong and sexy. And it's pretty eye-roll inducing, but there's still other stuff to talk about though. The world is also terribly uninteresting to me. It's the normal world, but at some point there was an event that gave certain people superpowers, and that's what they are. It's not like they're only available inside of the portals. The event gave people superpowers, and now there are these energy gates that pop up all over the place that have monsters in them that those people are expected to kill. That's the hook. Which is so horribly basic and boring, it almost brings a tear to my eye. Like, you're kidding, right? That's all. Maybe the world becomes...
Yeah, the thing is, I will give him this. I think Solo Leveling should, in Season 3, focus on world building. I think that we've had a good amount of Sung Jin-woo to where he's progressed, and we have all these moments, right? I think Season 1 and Season 2 were good. My biggest issue with, like, maybe Season 1 is that one episode where it's just recap, I think that was pointless. They should have used that to do more, like, you know, just show us the lives of some other side characters, show Jinwoo training, show more instead of just recapping. I think that would have been a better move. I honestly think that, you know what I'm saying, that Season 3 should just focus on world building. Because We don't need another season of just Sung Jin-woo training and war farming. We need something that develops the world. What is the system? Who knows? This dude is Sung Jin-woo's father. What about that? Like, we need more development of everything that just isn't Jinwoo. We need more of that. Because I think if they do that correctly, Solo Leveling is definitely going to be a better show.
More interesting as the show goes on, but that's really the only defining factor of this show so far. It sounds like something a middle schooler would write, or not even write, just daydream about in their head, which I guess makes perfect sense because think about the target audience. The show makes an attempt to make it all seem important by cutting away to men in suits, grumbling here and there, talking about how it's affected their bottom line, or talking about guilds and signing hunters to them, as if there's a big crazy world of business behind this whole thing. But I'd be pretty stunned if the show expanded on it more than it already has in the future. It almost has the feeling that because there are men in suits, the scenes are just intrinsically important when they're really not. The only thing that matters in the show is Jin-woo and his training and his interactions with what he ends up calling the system, which I will now call it too. The system is the one hanging thread in the show that I could call interesting. The system is clearly video game coded. It seems to like him for some reason, just like with Chewie, I don't know why. And he gained it only after what seemed like dying or completing a ritual sacrifice or something. The show doesn't go into what the system is at all. It's clearly a godlike entity in this world. It's able to bestow items and power-ups to Jin-woo even in the real world, but it's also written in English and has the mechanics of a video game, which makes you think immediately that someone had to design it, which is an interesting question. What's up with that? It's clearly tied to the portal somehow, but there's no way to tell at the moment. That's interesting on a base level. It also seems interesting to me that the hunter ranks are E through S, and the game also seems to use that terminology when referring to game-based stuff, which seems to imply that the creators of the game also have something to do with their real-world reaction to it appearing. Anyway, the show hasn't explored it yet in any meaningful way. Jin-woo just ponders basic questions about it, so I can't call it enthralling or anything. It doesn't start interesting and then get more interesting. It's just an interesting thing, which for this world is a crazy highlight. Maybe I'd fuck with the video game aspects if I played more RPGs. Like, I'm sure.
No, the video game aspect is cool. I like it.
Scissor lines went over my head because I haven't played WoW or Final Fantasy. The upgrades you get and the game mechanics of it all also don't really capture my attention, though. I wasn't expecting much. Strength means you can rip things apart better. Perception means you can sense stuff. Sure, it all makes sense. It's just uninteresting. The abilities he picks up to fight with could potentially be cool, I guess, when used in conjunction with one another, though we don't get to see a whole lot of that. Yeah, I should touch on the fight some, though. The only actual standout good factor of this show, and I'm certain the only reason it's actually popular. Yeah, the fights look fucking sweet. What do you want from me?
Yeah, the fight's hard. You can't. You can argue against Solo Leveling. I like Solo Leveling as a show. I think it's a good show, great anime adaptation. But if you want to argue the world building isn't where it needs to be, the side characters aren't developed enough, I would definitely see those arguments. I think Solo Leveling should definitely venture more into the side characters and overall world building and development in season 3. However, the fights were hard.
Cool animation, pretty solid choreography, and they have the means to do a bunch of different ones because of the video game background. He can fight whatever the creator thinks of because he's in a video game, or he can fight other people with superpowers because there are people with superpowers. And that's all well and good. It's really cool to look at most of the time, and that fight with Ignis in episode 11 is pretty phenomenal. I wouldn't be surprised if the show was only so popular because people saw clips of that fight online and then went and watched it because of it. The shot composition, the cinematography of that fight is pretty...
Shit, made a video on this too, nigga.
Cool, man. There's a lot of interesting angles and camera shots. It's very dynamic.
I ain't gonna lie, this fight is a 1 of 1. This fight was hard. I ain't gonna lie. Off a pure visual standpoint, this fight is hard. This fight is going in fire. If I do a tier list on fights in anime or Solo Leveling, this is going in fire just off like just hands alone.
So here, Solo Leveling, here's your flowers. But as I said, fellow kids, that simply isn't enough. Can we talk about the pacing of the show, just overall? It isn't immediately too bad. I like that they spend the first 3 entire episodes capturing just how much of a soft-spoken weakling Jin-woo is, so that when he starts...
I think you could argue that Solo Leveling does move a little fast. It doesn't help that they had a whole recap filler episode, basically. But yeah, Solo Leveling, especially if you're used to watching, like, One Piece, Bleach, Naruto, Dragon Ball... You're not gonna enjoy how fast Solo Leveling moves. Cause it's like, okay, we're done with this and we gotta go to like other shows usually take their time way more than Solo Leveling.
leveling up and getting more confident. It really shows. They even changed his entire design between episodes at one point, which it's a bit of a gimmick, but I think it's also kind of effective. I also assume he will be upgrading to this ultimate form way back.
Yeah, see, nigga aura forming, looking up at nigga aura forming. Here we go.
Back here in this art I saw for the show, but that remains to be seen. But as the show moves on, it really just gets bogged down in explaining everything to you. You're the character, remember, and you don't know anything about the world or the system. So you, aka Jinwoo, have to be told literally everything. Or Jinwoo sits or stands around staring at screens, reading video game jargon on them, and ponders to himself what it could mean or what effects it could have on it. That is a very large portion of this show. What episode do you think the Red Knight fight takes place in? You'd think episode 12, right? The finale episode? Save all your best action for the last one, right? It's a tried and true method. People like that. The human brain likes getting to the end of things and being rewarded. Been doing it since the hunter-gatherer days. We fucking love it. But no, the Ignis fight is in episode 11, which wouldn't be all that strange. It's very possible to have your finale fight in the second to last episode, because in a lot of shows, there's a lot to be wrapped up before a season ends. Characters need to deal with the big win or loss. There needs to be consequences of that outcome. There needs to be more setup for the next season. It's not unheard of. What really happens is that Jinwoo fights some more knights, gets teleported away. We skip the fight with the sandworms, and then he fights the knights again. That takes up about half of the time code of the episode, right? And then for the last pretty close to 10 minutes of the season, Jinwoo stands in front of a screen and reads off his new abilities and thinks about how cool they will be. That's not falling action, that's just bad writing. And it might be semi-acceptable if the show was going anywhere at this point. I guess you're supposed to think about how cool his new necromancer powers are going to be to help him in the burning castle next season. But like, what the hell, man? There's no story in this show. He literally goes into the dungeon where he fights the Red Knight on a whim because it popped up on a screen. He just shrugged and said, alright, who the fuck cares about any of this? It seems like they're trying
My boy
to do
said, F it, we balling.
some secondary plot with the S-rank hunters where they go back to an island where they failed a raid, and that goes on in the background for a while. But once again, the pacing falls flat on its face. This mission that keeps getting brought up isn't really explained at all, and all the big tough characters fly to go back to the island to give it another go, but the season ends and they don't even get there. Why the hell were these characters even in the season if they weren't going to have anything to do? Like, are you even trying? And that question rings in my head. Are they trying? Of course the art team tried really hard to make this shit look spectacular, and it often does, but outside of that, this shit is so cliched, man. I don't know where I heard this from. Maybe it was a Core A gaming video, but things like sports have rules, right? They have rules that can be bent and broken and played with because we're in the real world and that's what humans do. But video games have laws, ideas that the video game will either simply not allow or hasn't been programmed to deal with. That makes making a set of rules for your anime world completely brain dead. You could just list the rules or have your characters find out about a rule and that's it. There's no thought to be had. And half of the show is finding out about the laws and the workings of the system. The show just looks at you square in the eyes and says, look at how neat this new rule or feature is, and the main character is impressed, and they loop that moment over and over. And I don't even watch anime, and I'm already sick of having to use this asinine ranking system of D through S, or E through S in the show's case. It's lazy, man. It's just a trick to tell your audience how much you're supposed to respect a character without showing them why. Just assign a letter to them and let the lower ranks whisper to each other like, oh wow, he's an A rank, and that guy next to him was a B rank. We're only lowly D rank, so that's a big deal. Like, fucking yawn, man. Come on. I know they've been doing this shit in anime since before I was born, so maybe it's a time-honored tradition, and I'm just...
Yeah, I'm not mad at them having A. I think it just sets up the power. The reason they do E through like S is all that, you know what I'm saying? It's to kind of show Sung Jin-woo's progression and show that he's getting stronger. Like, okay, Sung Jin-woo at the level where he needs to be, and that ties into him, you know what I'm saying, want to be stronger. That's why they have that. Right? It's like, okay, this guy's a B rank. Sung Jin-woo's like, okay, I can't fuck with this guy. You know what I'm saying? So that means, okay, he's high C, low B, right? Then he's like, okay, I can mess with this dude, and this dude's like a A+, so he might be like an A-. You feel what I'm saying? Like, that's why they have that system in the show.
Some uncultured swine, but come on, man, it's so boring. And I know the anime character designs mine ran dry in 1997, and since then the entire industry have been summoning eldritch entities to fill their minds with unspeakable horrors and then designing their characters based around them since. But did they really have to make the main guy and the main girl literally Kirito and Asuna in this What If Video Games Was Real Life show? You're that uninspired. But then again, I find myself...
That's a reach. That's a reach. I ain't gonna lie. That's a reach. That's a reach. That's kind of a reach, I ain't gonna lie.
thinking anime kind of comes in waves, right? Every Dragon Ball will have its Naruto successor, and every Naruto will eventually have whatever the fuck this is. With every new generation comes a wave of new, impressionable young minds to mold into frothing future power scalers. So it makes sense to me that there would be a new Sword Art Online, and I'm sure there's other Sword Art Onlines. Nearly every anime opening I see when I watch Best Spring Anime Openings or whatever just looks like an animated Dungeons and Dragons campaign, so I know I'm out of the loop. But I'm just...
Yeah, I'd say out of all these, I don't, like, you could call Solo Leveling an isekai, but out of all these type of shows, Solo Leveling does it the best. I don't even think it's... I, honest to God, don't think it's close. If we look at a lot of these other isekai shows, I honestly think that Solo Leveling clears highly, just highly clears, to be honest.
A show that steals that vibe so hard does make sense to me. I just wish it wasn't so mind-numbingly samey as the little anime that I have seen. Maybe that's just what people like. They want to see this stuff. Oh yeah, the opening. It's not very good. I mean, the visuals look good, but as far as I can tell, the actual content doesn't mean much to the world or story. It's just good-looking shot after good-looking shot. Also, the song just ain't my cup of tea. I think it's pretty bad. As I type this, and now as I voice this, I try to keep reminding myself that this show just simply isn't for me. And not in the sense that I don't like it. It's just not aimed at me at all. The only reason I watched it was because I wanted to give what was a very modern and very popular anime a shot and see how I felt. This show didn't interest me in the first place, so can I really be up in arms when, wow, shocker, I didn't like it?
Well, maybe you just don't like this show, and that's cool. Because the thing is, I'm watching this video like, yeah, side characters don't have that much development. It's mostly about Jinwoo, but I like Jinwoo as a protagonist, and he clearly doesn't. But it's just because I like this show inherently. He doesn't. That's the difference. The show is for people like me. It's not for guys like it. Because, like, you could watch a show. Two guys could watch a show, the same show, and then one guy's like, that was trash, and the other's like, that is awesome. Right? There's some things and people talk about in Dragon Ball Z where, like, they're like, this sucks. And I'm like, I ain't gonna lie, that was kind of hard. This is the same thing. This guy's picking things he doesn't like, and I'm seeing some of them, and I'm like, okay, that's a reasonable argument. And some things I'm just like, I like that, actually. So... yeah, maybe the show is just maybe not for you, and that's fine. I think that's fine, because he's clearly not just gonna say if you like he hasn't said something like if you like this show, you're an uninformed swine. Like, I'm happy he hasn't said that. But hey man, if the show's not for you, hey man, shout out to you. But I ain't gonna lie, I'll mess with Soul Leveling, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is.
But what did surprise me was just how uninspired it felt, how generic and boring everything seemed. I didn't expect to like it, but I did expect to feel like I was watching something that had something to say, or a story to tell, or a character to care about. This show actually made me think about what I look for in an animated show, and I think the hierarchy goes like this. First, most importantly, I need characters that I care about. If it's a show without any characters that I care about, how can I care about the show? Second most important is story. It's crucial that those characters have interesting things to do and challenges to overcome. Lastly, and third, though it's still important, is animation.
Definitely.
I like seeing cool shit and being impressed by what they can do. I think a show can get away with having two of these elements and have me consider it a passable show, though what really helps if that combination is 1 and 2 rather than 1 and 3 or 2 and 3. If it has all three, then fuck, we're off to the races. We have a potentially good show. And I know that's not a perfect way to think about it, but it's a pretty simple way to illustrate my point. Solo Leveling just has good animation. There is no other reason to care about it. You know what else has good animation? A bunch of indie animated projects on the internet, and those are incredible because that's all they are. You get what you came for with those, but this is an entire ass show. It has to be more than that, or it's gonna feel shallow and empty, and this show does. This show is not for me, boss. Page your chat outs.
Hey, that is what it is, though, man. That was a good video, but yeah, I do like Solo Leveling. Obviously, he doesn't, but hey, man, it is what it is. People got different opinions and all that, but before we end up, I might just check the comments right quick. I still can't believe this anime was the win year over Franklin and Delicious in Dungeon. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Finally, who's mindlessly glazing the show? You need to watch Freyren. I blame light novels. They refine the power and sort down to a science. Like everything is a cluster trope that's like cracked for 1 13-year-olds. Well, I just like Solo Leveling, so. But hey, man, it is what it is. But with that being said, that's the end. You know what I'm saying? That's the end of this video. Shout out to Overanalyzing Avatar. Stay healthy, stay wealthy, and stay blessed. It's your boy Jay, and I'm out.